right, hello and welcome to episode 9 of The Great Debate. Today, I don't seem to have any contestants. I spent a good chunk of my day yesterday resetting my computer and reinstalling all of the necessary software to be able to run this show, hoping that somehow today would turn out okay. And I don't know how well it's going to go. So if there's anybody in the chat, could you please pipe up and tell me how well I'm coming through today? Whether I need to adjust my levels, is everything coming through all right? And meanwhile, we'll go through the standard rigmarole of what today's game is going to entail. So I have this board, and this board has 3 categories. And of these 3 categories, there's 6 topics in each category with a total of 18. Behind each of these topics, there is a question or a statement to begin a conversation about that topic. Now, it does not matter what side you fall on or what direction you go. The whole intent of this conversation is to bring out the most perspectives possible and to try to go over the situation while in a basic format within 10 minutes to try to cover as many different angles as possible and, if possible, elaborate on what your view or perspective is. Apparently, my stream health is not doing so well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by the assumption that all of the work that I did not do a whole lot to help me out. And I'm going to get rid of some of the things going on in the background on my computer as I sit and chat with you guys. So if the audio levels and other things begin to tank or glitch or have problems, again, please let me know in the chat. Hey Buckwad, how you doing today? I'm trying to get things rolling. Unfortunately, my stream health is a little bit low. Bear with me as I try to adjust this bandwidth real quick. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and toss you a wrench because that's what I do here. I don't know if you caught that. My stream output is running a little bit low. I'm buffering. Gee, I wonder what is going on. And I have YinWolf in here to chat with today. YinWolf, can you hear me? You can hear me and I can't hear you. So that's either my headset or my settings. And I'm not sure. I saw you talking. I see the audio coming through, but for some reason I just can't hear you. Are you there?
I'm here.
I hear you talking. You're really quiet. Why is it not coming through my audio? You are going across the broadcast, but I still can't hear you. Let me, unfortunately, run over here to Google and see if it's the audio settings in Google. No, that seems to be alright. And that's going to mess up my stream a little bit more. Oh, today is not going to go well, is it?
Probably not.
Oh, I just barely heard you. Where are you?
I'm kind of in my mother's house now for New Year. Can you hear me?
I can just barely hear you. You're coming in a little better.
Oh, yeah. Is that any better?
Oh, there you are. You're starting to come in louder and louder.
Goodness. Where's the microphone on the computer? I need to get a new headset with inbuilt microphone.
That's what I got, and I need to replace it. How are we doing today, Buckwad? How am I coming through there in the stream? Because I'm apparently having some difficulties on my end, I guess.
You're coming through loud and clear.
Am I? I'm coming through loud and clear for you?
Yeah, louder and clearer than that, I would say.
Alright, and there you are. You're coming through on the show. I can see the microphone coming across. Alright, everything appears to be running well. However, my stream health still apparently isn't all that great. You hear 2 voices now. That's awesome. Alright, so let's see if we can get this show on the road. I threw out a few more requests for guests. Preferably, I'd like to get 2 people so we have 3 perspectives looking at everything. But whatever we can do is what we can do. So let's load up this game board. Go ahead.
Oh, you're sorry. I was gonna say, did you see the question I posted?
Let me look. Car enthusiast.
I'm not a car enthusiast.
You make it use of it as a time machine. I don't know. The DeLorean was only produced for 1 year. The man who designed and created the DeLorean ended up going to jail for 30 years for cocaine, I want to say, which is why the car was only put out once.
So what car would you use in the remake is the question.
What would you remake into a DeLorean? Gee, I wouldn't even know. That's an interesting question.
Oh, no, no, no. The question is, if you were remaking the film Back to the Future, right, what car would you use as the time machine?
Well, if you were setting it in the 80s, I'd use one of those new smart cars with a digital dash. Maybe one that talks to you so that they think it actually came to life.
Alright.
Alright. Well, I don't know how much at the beginning you caught, but this show is basically just a conversation. So let's load up the board and pardon your ears if this comes through too loud.
That's it, right?
Welcome to the Great Debate. I guess I'm being an idiot. Let me show everybody what's going on. All right, and you should be able to see the board on your end.
I do, yeah.
All right. So I have 3 categories. There's easy, general, and hot. Those kind of limit the level of the topic, how intense the conversation is going to get based on what's under the buttons there. In each category, there's 6 topics. Now, underneath each topic in each category, there's a short statement or a question to cause thought on that topic and start that conversation.
Okay.
So, being that you're the only one here today, would you like to pick one of our 18 topics?
Certainly, I should go for hot LGBTQ alphabet.
The LGBTQ alphabet. Any marginalized group should be included in the LGBT.
I would say no, because LGBT is only for sexuality. And a few others don't think trans should be in it either, because trans are straight or gay themselves. So if you're a trans woman who likes men, you're straight. You don't really belong in the LGBT community. And if you're trans who's gay, you do.
Okay.
So you don't be led sexuals.
Well, we've had it's really hard to steer too far away. I'm trying to goal the conversational topic, and I keep trying to toss in things in there. This one's been hit a few times, so obviously this is definitely a hot topic that people want to talk about. And a previous question also included the type of inclusion. And this time we're aiming at the marginalized groups, because it seems that in the last conversation, when I got done with it, I realized that the way they were being inclusive was by using marginalized groups to build on the base of their group. So by encompassing or including additional marginalized groups, the LGBTQ community is able to expand upon their base and grow, while if they weren't including additional marginalized groups, would they be able to continue to grow, or would they still have a message?
Well, what are the marginalized groups?
Well, as of currently, the LGBTQIAPP3S, and there's half a dozen more letters that go on top of that, try to, whether by choice of that group or by their own will, include the group to, let's say, non-binary. So the LGBTQ group includes the non-binary. That allows them to add a certain portion of the people that don't identify as lesbian, gay, queer, anything that was already consistent of that group. So by adding another small group, that makes their group able to grow, and maybe allows them to feel a little more power or persuasion for the growth that they've made.
You can have non-binaries that are in no relationships at all, or in relationships with their other non-binaries. So what category do they fall under? I think gay, lesbian, bisexual covers pretty much any group.
Okay. But some people don't feel
Because you
that
can have
that's the group that they're in, and because of that, either them in their group or the LGBTQ community has decided that by including that group, it allows them to fight for the rights that they maybe have in common.
but this is just all about identity now instead of sexuality.
Right, and that's part of the conversation that we had last time. So this time, trying to steer the conversation in a slightly different direction, should they be included to any marginalized group should be included to the LGBT, meaning that if somebody feels like they are a minority or they've been swept aside because of their personal views on sexuality or however you want to view that community at this point, their personal views being different from others, they should be included because they're also marginalized.
No, because you can marginalize anyone. I can be marginalized because I'm disabled. I can be marginalized because I'm short. It doesn't mean I should be able to lump myself in with a bigger crowd. I should be able to stand on my own crowd or my own,
Absolutely. I
rather than.
firmly believe that. The goal is to look at the opposing views. Do you see why they would want to, knowing that you feel it's a bad idea? Do we see why they might also do it, why they see it as a good thing? And at the same time, try to discuss why we see it as a bad thing.
They may see. I don't know. To be fair, uh, I just think that the term gay, lesbian, and bisexual is so broad in and of itself that anyone can be part of that and still be part of their own marginalized groups. You could be short and can bisexual or gay. You could be tall. It doesn't mean you really go together, except for that one topic. Are you gay? Are you bisexual? Are you lesbian? If the answer is yes, then you're in the LGBT group.
Okay. And it's a pretty firm stance. And again, if people want to look at different opposing views and perspectives, there are several different perspectives from no, nobody should be included in the original LGBT group and it shouldn't have the Q or any additional letters. And then you have the perspective that yes, everybody should be included because it's a group representing a a small portion and trying to give them the power to stand up for who they are.
Yes, but I think it should just be LGBT instead of LGBT. I think I think it should just be on.
Are you there? I think we lost you.
Yeah, I'm saying I think gay, lesbian, and bisexual, as I said, is so broad in of itself that we should drop the T and the Q. So just leave it LGB.
Okay. So you're saying something along the lines of the last show where the groups needed to be broken down to give them their own power and not be a cumulative group to fight for all of their rights together.
Yes, because there are many trans who don't identify as LGBT or gay, lesbian, or bisexual, and if the whole LGBT group is doing something that they don't agree with, they're still getting represented by like themselves, even if they're not part of the group.
All right. Well, is there anything else we need to say? We have about 2 minutes left. I want to make sure we think about this and we put in any other views we have. That's why a third person is always helpful, because sometimes somebody will always come up with an additional idea. Chat, feel free to chime
Now,
in and mention anything you'd like us to bring up, any thoughts or perspectives you might have on this. That's what the show is for. Go ahead, Yin.
I don't really have much else to say. I think gay, lesbian, bisexual, LGBT is so inclusive in and of itself that it will include non-binary, it includes transgenders, it includes anyone who identifies as gay, lesbian, or bisexual, no matter what group they're in, other group they're in.
Okay. All right. Well, we are going to cut this with 1:20 left, and we'll head back to the board here.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's hard to keep 10 minutes rolling with only 2 people, which is why with 2 or 3 people, 3 minutes is too few, 10 minutes is too much. So with a 3-person, which is the ideal goal for this show, with 3 people, we should be able to keep the conversation moving for 10 minutes and take a look at a few different perspectives. So we'll take this break in here between categories. YinWolf, would you like to tell our audience about yourself?
I run 2 small channels. One's the Men's Rights Central, where I donated videos from other YouTubers dealing with men's issues and rights. And they, as I said, they donate videos, so all the videos are in one place for folk. So that's my second channel. The first channel, I'm going to be doing online comics.
Like you draw them, or you're finding them and bringing them over to be seen?
No, I write the script. I've got an artist who draws them quite cheap.
All right. All right.
And I've got the permission of a couple of YouTubers already to use their avatars, so it makes it more fun for me.
All right. Do we need my voice up just a little bit, Beware? I can tag my voice up just a hair if you need me to. I've got the settings set so I don't overtake my guest, because his volume was a little bit low today.
Yeah, I'm coming through clear.
Oh yeah, you're coming through clear. I've got bars. Sometimes you get a hair bit loud, so I'm adjusting the volume as we go, as I see it needs.
Alright.
All right. So, would you like to look at the board? And we have another 15 categories left on the board, or 17 categories left on the board today.
Video games.
Video games. That's a wonderful one. Does the current rating system work?
Oh. I actually don't know anything about the rating system.
Alright, well, the video game rating system basically starts out at the E for everyone level. So everybody can play this game. There's no content that's adult only or aimed at older children. It's meant for family. There's T for teen. There's N for mature, which is basically like an NC-17, I want to say. In some states it's 17, in some states it's 18, I think. And then I want to say there's 1 or 2 other general ratings. Feel free to chime in. Hello again, Vicky Online. Feel free to chime in if I'm missing any.
There's also 18 for... No, GTA 5 was 18.
Right, I mean, there's different content categories for different types of video games depending on who they're aimed for. So is this rating system appropriate? Does it work?
I think it doesn't work, but I think it's the best you're going to get, because as someone who's played GTA 5, and that's on 18, I've heard little kids on there effing and blinding, and the parents have obviously bought them these games knowing that they're 18 or mature or whatever. So it doesn't work, but I think it's the best you're going to get, because there's no other system currently that can replace it.
Okay, but it's worked for the most part so far. Those kids cannot go buy
Yeah,
those games on their own. The parents have to buy them for them, or they have to convince somebody to buy them. So they're restricted from getting those adult and mature games. So maybe this system has worked to a point, but it's self-defeating
yeah,
because the parents don't believe the rating is appropriate and let the kids play anyway.
yeah. Some parents just don't care, and they want to kind of please their naughty nosed brats who will throw a temper tantrum if they don't get their way.
Right, and I actually laughingly saw a whole bunch of those Christmas videos coming out in the last day or two,
So did
and
I.
talking about kids everywhere from, you understand the 3, 4, or 5 year old gets all upset, but usually it's because you ripped the paper off before they did, or you took the paper and they wanted the paper, or you took the box and they wanted the box. But as they get older,
Yeah.
I wanted the blue one. Why didn't you get me the blue one? Are you freaking serious?
That's a good car.
Right. Um,
Or that boy was angry because he was getting an iPhone 4
right.
and he didn't want it because it used to be his sister's or something like that.
Yeah, I did catch a few of those videos. I tried not to watch too much of them, but even my wife was pulling them up there everywhere. It's like, I wanted a guitar that was I wanted this. Where's my yellow convertible? Why'd you get me a red one? Some of them were pranks, obviously, and funny to watch, but other ones were just stupid and awful to have happened.
Mind you, there was an adorable one, and this wee boy, because he tried it on this wee boy, and he got 3 oranges, and they were recording him thinking he was going to cry, but he was delighted.
So let's get back to
He got
this
three,
rating system, not to divert too quickly, but yeah, wow. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, -6 degrees. I think it's 8 out where I am right now, but I'm not going to divulge the location there. It's just cold. But back to the video games, I honestly think the rating system, it does currently work, but it only works for those who work it properly. And I think that
yeah,
this is kind of tied in with movies and internet also. Is something I've thought about when it comes to YouTube, and I've heard other people talk about that the rating system on video games and movies should be modified to where we are today, and it should be a generic rating system that encompasses all of the media that is consumed, so that depending on when you go to let's say you run into Walmart and you're trying to decide whether to get your kid a video game or a movie, and you're looking at the ratings on the back. The ratings on the movies are different than the ratings on the video games. And then the content you let your child watch at home has different ratings on the YouTube channels. And
yeah. But
it's so varied that maybe the current rating system doesn't work because nobody understands each individual rating system enough to know how to apply it throughout what they consume.
I disagree. I don't think people are that stupid.
Well,
To
you
be
don't know
fair,
a lot of
I
people then. I mean, go ahead.
don't worry. I've seen YouTube plenty of times. I think it's not a case of they don't understand. It's a lot of them just don't care what their kids play or how they act online.
Or maybe even
As I
half
said,
of them don't pay
I've
attention.
exactly, and they'll get the game to keep their brat quiet. Um, because our Sunday's played GTA 5, which in itself is an 18 game. It's got killing, it's got swearing galore, it's got a sex scene at the beginning or near the beginning. Um, and I went online, and there have been kids who kind of calling you a bitch or calling you the N word or calling you cunts and pussies and that, and going
But
on
that
and
sells the
killing you, thinking,
game. That sells the game. People realize that it's more realistic. It doesn't hold back, and then those 13 and 14-year-olds want
That's,
that rated M game, so their parents buy it for them to shut them up.
I was
So,
not. It's not just that. It's like 10 and 12-year-olds as well.
oh yeah, I've let
I mean,
my
the amount of time.
go ahead.
I mean, the amount of times that me and my friend Dan have been trying to, cruise around minding our own business, and we've been killed by kids. It's amazing. But it's always funny because we'll kind of get our friends together and go and kill them until they rage quit.
Hey, I'll offer an interesting perspective for you. I wonder if the rating system doesn't work anymore because people realize that some of these 10, 11, 12-year-old kids can absolutely play as well as people that have been playing for 20 years. And they can play better than some of them and absolutely decimate some of these games with a couple of days
I,
of practice.
I don't know. I mean, I've played against a few of the young ones, and none of them tend to be that good. Except maybe at like Call of Duty or Battlefield. That's only because I'm crap at it myself. But in
Well,
G,
I honestly have let my son play, and my son is only he's 11 now, but as young as 8 or 9, he used to sit and play Call of Duty with me. However, I'm one of those parents. He wasn't allowed to sit and play Call of Duty alone in a room by himself for any period of time. Somebody'd be sitting there watching or playing with him. But
yeah,
I allowed my son to play those games as long as he didn't just kind of go off on his own. Now, I wouldn't let him play for like 9 hours a day. He got an hour or two in the game with me, and that was about it.
yeah.
Movie rating systems
I
allow for
mean,
a set number of discrepancies, even in movies with a PG rating. That is true. Sometimes you can find scenes that are or could be considered adult or warning wise, and they're allowed in even Disney films.
uh, is it Vicky Online or Vic? How do you pronounce it?
I think it's Vicky Online.
Oh, Vicky Online. I've been defeated by a 4-year-old in Mario Kart.
I was actually defeated by a 6-year-old in Call of Duty. He called out a nuke in 3.5 minutes. A six
Nice.
year old. Rating systems are
Well,
just a
maybe.
guide, in my opinion. You've got to do your due diligence as a parent to check the movies and games before just turning your kid loose on them. Perfectly agree with that. Perfectly agree.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think a lot of parents don't care anymore. They'll just get the hottest game.
It
And to
used to
be, I
be.
think it's all.
Go ahead.
It used to be kind of to be the new hip cool parent. It's not to be the hip cool parent of that.
And there is the 10 minutes. You're right. It's not the hip, cool parent anymore. It used to be go read a book, go till the field, go weed the garden, go mow the lawn, go find something to do outside, toss some rocks, something. Now it's here. Take this tablet, take this controller, shut up and leave me alone.
Yeah, I'll give my kids what I never got as growing up. I bet you teach your kid what you were never taught growing up instead.
My kid, believe it or not, I hold a you get what you earn. Um, my kid is allowed to play on things until he loses the privilege or right. So if he does what he's supposed to, tells the truth, does his homework, even if he gets somewhat bad grades, if he at least puts the effort forward, I judge him on the effort. If you don't put the effort forward, you lose things. So my son has more than not lost TV, video game. He's got an old iPhone that he uses as an iPod. He's lost privileges for days and weeks on end if he doesn't do what he's supposed to. So he does
Huh.
have active chores and things that he's supposed to do, plus his homework. We require him to read. He chose to play an instrument, so we require that he take time to do that. And if he doesn't want to, well, then I don't want to give you my spare phone to play on if you're not going to do due diligence. I reward him wanting to do things. I don't reward him doing them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to reward. 100 more than I'm going to reward the action of putting forth the effort to try to get 100. Yeah, 100 is cool, kid. 100 is awesome, but if you cheated to get that 100, it's worthless. A 65 is
Yeah.
just as good if you worked your ass off to get there. So that's how I treat my son. So he has to be adult-like to get adult things. So moving on, we now have 16 topics left on the board. Positive reinforcement is always the best way to go. That's agreed. So 16 topics left on the board. Yin, where would you like to discuss things next?
Just one thing I want to say to that. I don't believe in hitting kids, but my God, seeing those videos that we've seen, Skull, I can really understand the temptation.
I can't say that I've never been spanked, and I can't say I haven't given my kids both a, okay, you got to stop this. Nah, 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 nah. No, I said stop. Nah, 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 nah. Pop. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, okay, now get to your room and behave. And I can't say I've never done it because, kids push you, but, they got to push me awful far to want to do that. Until then, I will take away everything they have in their room and set them on the floor to yell and scream all they want. They literally have to push me an awful long ways, and I mean purposefully for hours on end, do everything the opposite. I mean, you really, really, really got to push somebody to want to do that. But my
Yeah.
kids have more than not lost everything in their room before they'll get a beating on the ass. I have taken them shopping for Halloween things and made them take everything back out of the cart, and then we walked out of the store and they got nothing for Halloween a couple years ago because one kid decided to walk away and the other one decided to throw a fit. Oh, you
Ah,
get nothing. We're walking out. You're done. Halloween's over for you guys this year. Oh no. So the next year when Halloween came up and the next holiday that we went to the store for, absolute best behavior. Spanking does
when
nothing.
you said that, when you said they walked away, you mean they walked away from the situation, or they just?
No, I mean, we were standing in an aisle, picking up and looking at things, and my son turned around and looked at the other side of the aisle, and then I had turned around to grab him, and he had gone 2 aisles away in less than 10 seconds. He saw
Oh
something and
wow.
ran for it, and when I turned, he wasn't there. And when I went to the end of the aisle, he was coming back with it, yelling, "Dad, look what I saw!" And I was like, "That's great, now you're not getting it. We're leaving."
Ah,
You don't walk away from me in a
so
store. A 9-year-old, or what was he? He was 8 at the time. An 8-year-old does not walk away from a parent in the store. I will not buy you a thing if you walk away from me. That is the scariest thing for a parent, to lose a kid. Even for a split second, you don't see that kid in a store that's crowded on a holiday. That is the scariest thing. I flipped out. We're leaving. We're done. You're getting nothing. Sometimes I
that's
can
what
be
you're
mean,
right.
but I try to be firm and strict and right to my principles.
Did you explain why you were leaving, so?
Oh, I explained why. All the way out the store. All the way out the
That's one
store.
thing because that is one thing that always annoyed me growing up. Is why I would ask him why because I say so. Because I say so is not an appropriate answer to why you're
It's
doing
not
what
an
you're doing.
appropriate answer for punishment. However, it is an appropriate answer when you're denying them something they're asking for.
Conspiracy theories.
Oh, conspiracy theories it is. Russians were directly responsible for the Trump election by swaying votes.
I can believe that.
Do you really think?
Right, before we answer, are we safe? Are our families safe? Are we going to get some tea in the mail?
Um, I don't think anything's coming in my mailbox. Is plural, whichever one they seem to find. I'm pretty safe. How are you?
Alright.
I don't think the Russians are going to get me over this. But it was a pretty hot news item for a while, and I did want to bring up news items, but I like to wait till they die down a little bit to actually discuss the information that has come from them. So you won't see hit news items a lot. You'll see stuff that happened a few months back or a year or so ago, trying to make sure that there's enough information to discuss before I try to discuss it. But there's a
I would
whole lot
say
out there.
I can't I can't wonder if this is all to do with just hating Trump that they'll try anything. I mean, would they have said the same thing if Hillary had won?
That's a very good question, and that's been posed many times. Here's the question: how do we know that they didn't have just as much of an impact on the positive number of Hillary
Obama.
votes? We don't actually know, even if they were trying. It could have been. I did hear one news report. I forget what station it was on, saying that the whole Russians' goal and purpose was just to toss in something to confuse people, and they were literally paying for ads in different areas that would start up disputes and riots and make people go in different directions. So there was no solid path as to what they were trying to accomplish. They were just trying to stir up confusion.
Uh, um, I don't know if Russia would do it or not. I mean, what would they have to gain? I mean, what have they gained from Trump being in power?
I don't know, and that's the question Congress wants to ask. What would they
I mean,
have to gain from paying Facebook to promote ads for BLM or Antifa or various governmental institutions? I mean, what would they have to gain by putting their money into the American economy to toss something out there that's already out there, just bring it back to the limelight? What do they have to gain from that?
a government does everything a government does is by point or gain. If there's a point to it, they'll do it. If they gain something from it, they'll do it. If there's nothing to gain and there's no point, I doubt they would do it.
All right, well, Vicky puts in, if I were a part of the Russian government, I would have made an effort to affect the U.S. presidential election, but that is not a clear indicator of Russian intent during this election. The United States of America is a veritable threat to any country in the world, and its leader is at the forefront of perceived world impact and policy. Very true. And if you confuse the American people, and I will offer this as a perspective, if you confuse the American people and elect a puppet as a president, does that help or hurt? Does Donald Trump getting into the White
What?
House as opposed to Hillary Clinton offer Russia a better chance to be able to talk to the American government, whereas Hillary would have just brushed Russia aside?
Well, here's a question: why this election? Why not the last election? Why not the election before that? Why this specific election?
Or how do we even know it was only this election? How do we know it was only during election time? And why does it
Um,
matter? Very, very good questions. And it's these questions that make this such a conspiracy theory. What were the Russians trying to get out of this? And Vicky again chimes in, because of the monetary power, military size, and number of allied countries to the United States of America, any other world power must take note and possibly be proactive in American politics. Okay, but I want to say, and I could be corrected here, I could be wrong, there is a law in the United States and a lot of other countries, by the way, that prohibits outside entities from being able to persuade or push the election to trying to think of the word and it's not coming to my mind right now, but I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about, to try and sway our election in one way or another.
um, ah, so do you think Russia were doing it to maybe, and I'm using finger quotes here, save the world from a Clinton catastrophe?
Maybe. Maybe, and honestly, I have never looked into Clinton or Russia or their cooperative engineerings, but what has Clinton done for Russia? Or what has Russia done to or for Clinton? Are they connected? Are they not
Hmm.
connected? Are they frenemies or something? And Putin knows that Hillary won't talk to him because he made a bad comment about a pantsuit she wore or something dumb. I don't know. And you have to wonder, okay,
Or
we don't
maybe,
like Hillary, we don't have a chance with her, but we want to have peace, so let's talk with Trump.
or could be the opposite way around. Maybe um, Putin can manipulate Trump easier than he can Clinton.
Maybe. Beware chimes in. How does anyone figure in the age of the internet that you can prevent outside entities from influencing elections? With internet media, it's possible. If, and a big if the Russians tried to influence the election, it was because Hillary was very anti-Russia. Just my guess. Right, and her being anti-Russia, did that mean that Putin just went, okay, I don't have a chance, so, I can't persuade, but let's throw some ads in here and make sure that people understand what the problems that are going on because of Clinton are, so that we can maybe have a chance to talk to the next president as opposed to possibly fighting the next president? Because I don't think Putin wants to go to war with us any more than we want to go to war with him.
There could actually be and this is a very out there reason, but maybe Putin didn't want to negotiate with a woman.
That's also true. It's very entirely possible that Putin was just looking out for YinWolf, misogynistic tendencies,
Hmm.
right? Vicky Online chimes in. I think that there is such a law, and I tend to think that the Clintons are not highly regarded outside the U.S. Right. I want to say there is a law preventing Russia from financially pushing one way or the other from affecting the elections. And I
Or
don't
maybe
think the Clintons are highly regarded. And especially after the whole Hillary thing over the summer, anybody who might have had anything to do with her and possible disappeared emails is probably freaking out and going, okay, what can we do? How do we know what the connections were with the, again, I'm air quoting now, the disappeared emails if nobody knows if or what else existed? So you have to
um
look at all this. There's so much information, you just can't process it in one way. You got to think of all the different angles this could have been. They could have just been trying to confuse people. They could have been trying to cause chaos. They could have been trying to aim the election in a direction or in a way they wanted it to.
or maybe, just maybe, it wasn't the Russians at all. Maybe it was the American government who made it look like the Russians.
Ah, double spy.
Or a third one, and again this is out there, maybe it was the Chinese making it look like the Russians did it.
um,
It gets out there now. Now you can get more evidence. You can come up with theory after theory after theory.
okay, so let's go way off the edge of conspiracy, man. Let's let's talk about the fact that Russia could have been helping North Korea so that Kim Jong Un would have a reason to start a war so that Russia
Oh,
could, I don't know,
please.
maybe North Korea is paying Russia so that Russia will sway America's election so that Russia will give North Korea the information they need to build their nuclear missiles.
Then Then you guys go. You're American, aren't you? Yeah.
I am, yeah, I'm American.
Then you guys go to war with North Korea already and effing decimate them.
We could. The problem is that,
And I,
and there's the problem is nuclear winter. It's self-assured mutual destruction.
I'm sure not. I'm sure you've been already. I'm sure. I think it was America went to war with um, a brief war with North Korea, and you guys pretty much decimated them. And when I mean decimated in its proper uses, you pretty much reduced them to 1/10 of the population. Or was that someone
I
else?
honestly, North Korea is such a. I'll have to throw that into a conspiracy theory or something for another show possibly. But North Korea is certainly another up in the air kind of thing, like the Russian influence on the American election. I'll give it that. It is definitely a whole nother topic on its own to go somewhere in this hot topic category, but it's not here today. Back on those categories, would you like to choose another one?
Hollywood.
Hollywood it is. What makes a person in Hollywood a star, in your opinion?
Talent.
Talent?
Talent.
Talent. I think talent's very important. If they're not talented, they're not going to get a part.
That's not true. And look at the Kardashians. All you had to do was release a sex tape.
Yeah, but you don't see the
My
Kardashians
opinion.
playing in the Expendables or in Marvel movies.
No, they just making millions being idiots themselves.
Oh yeah, I don't pay attention. They're not getting any of my money on any intentional rounds of me caring. So, um, but I honestly have to say that this question came to me when we were looking at Beware of Darkness's stream, and he was going over the movies. Here's another little shill for Beware. Go check out his stream if he runs it after mine. But when we were looking at movies, and we noticed that the older decades were easier to remember, it almost seems like time in and care for the profession kind of made some of these people stars, and the reason that we're not seeing or we don't feel there's as many stars as there used to be is that we're not focusing as much on the talent as we are on the size of the movie name they can be in.
Sorry, so Dax has said he'll come on and join us.
Who did where?
Dax.
Ooh.
Someone else on Twitter.
Go ahead and toss me the link. We've only got about 12 minutes left, so we'll finish up this category. If he wants to jump in and offer some input, that's great.
Question is, what makes a star? In my opinion, my one is, talent, charisma, a good work ethic, and I would say pretty much a decent personality.
All right, so who would you call a star worth calling a star? So think about that for a second while I read a couple of these. Strontium-3, a very common radioisotope left over from a nuclear blast, is assured to kill many millions of people after nuclear war. Correct. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was a strontium, but I didn't know which one. What makes a person a star in Hollywood is their ability to lie to others and themselves. Yay! Do we have Max?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Not bad.
All right, well, we're partway into this category, so let's bring you up to speed. Hollywood. What makes a person a star in Hollywood, in your opinion?
The amount of self-importance they give to themselves and the people who believe it.
All right, so let's open up this question, and I'll take it back to YinWolf, because I asked, who do you believe would be a star, a renowned star that you would immediately think about when you think movies?
In my opinion, Keanu Reeves is a star because he is talented, even though he does get typecast. Chris Tucker, Jet Li is very talented. He's a great star. Jackie Chan. Let's see, female stars. Scarlett Johansson is a star. I don't really know a lot of actors off by heart.
Right, and that's the thing is, a lot of people don't anymore. When I think stars, when I think Hollywood, I think back to... Oh, and I can't even think. I think Schwarzenegger back in, like, True Lies. I think older movies and stars that have done enough to show that they can play different roles and can be different people, because that's what they're doing. And to be a star, you have to have that ability to change yourself to fit the role.
Well, if that's the case, I don't think Jackie Chan would be a star then.
Why not? He's been in tons of different movies.
Yeah, but
Granted, he's always had that martial arts, but it's been different perspectives. He's done different things with the martial arts.
do you think Steven Seagal was a star then?
Steven
He was in his
Seagal,
own right. I mean, he had lots of movies in the
yeah.
90s.
Yeah, but he had the same problem. All his characters were brooding martial artists.
Okay, and I'll have to add to that where almost every single person he played was either an acting or former military operative or special forces operative. But he played a dad in one movie. He played a cook in another.
Ah,
He played different parts, and he played those parts well. Even though his persona carried over from part to part, he did play the dad part well. He did play the cook part well. Of course, he
yeah,
always
but I
played
think
that quiet, stoic part very well. But
I think Steven's main problem was, as Dak said, his own self-importance got the better of him. Because there were some movies where I think he was just so out of shape that the whole fight scene was just him sitting in a seat.
yeah, as he got older and started to pack on a few pounds, but you don't really lose that training or that ability. He was formally trained. In from the chat,
Yeah.
what makes a person a star? I think that about Arnold Schwarzenegger too. He had a lot of recognition during his prime, and he did different movies, and he got into that after he did something else, and then he got out of movies and then went into being in government, and then he got out of government and went back and did a couple of cameo appearances. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, in a different way of being a star, has been able to show his ability to not only play roles but be able to actively participate in different types of roles, whether it be on stage or in real life.
I think Dwayne Johnson's a good star, but the roles he picks are kind of lackluster.
Okay,
But
and
is it wrong to appreciate somebody as a star for being typecast?
No,
no,
because as I said, I think Keanu is a great star in his own right, because he's a hard worker. He's a really nice person in real life, apparently, and he only gets typecast because of his broodiness. But don't forget, he was in Bill and Ted. He he can put on the smell, he can put on the charm, but he just needs the proper role. I
so
think Jim I
I will
think Jim
toss
Carrey's
another controversial one in here. Right? Go ahead. I'll let you finish first.
Jim Carrey's another good star. I loved him. I loved him in the movie 23.
So that brings up another thing. Before I go to my last one, if
Robert,
somebody loses their ability or their talent or
yeah.
starts to decline, does that take away from their stardom, or does that mean they've hit the peak and they've done what they've done and that they're a star? Let them wind down.
I would I would say they hit their peak and they're winding down. I mean, you don't really lose your talent unless you're a huge drug taker or you're just getting older.
Or you're Kevin Spacey.
I mean, if you look, or if you Lindsay, I mean, look at Lindsay Lohan. She was going places, but her behavior and her drug taking ruined her pretty much.
Yep, she
And
went to
now
the
she's
wrong
only got like
places.
small bit part. But I think she's still got just not getting the opportunity anymore because of her behavior. She's literally shot herself in the foot.
Yeah, and the way that women seem to be, this has been brought up in the past, the way that actresses seem to be, though, Lindsay Lohan has every opportunity to come back in about 10 or 15 years as she grows out of the childishness, I guess you could say at this point for her. But it seems once um, women get rowdy when they get older. Men are rowdy when they're younger. It's just that's my personal opinion, and it seems like the women's rowdy and life living time is when they get out of the showbiz and then they come back after and they have that lived experience. They've been through a few things and then they come back and they level out and some of them can build from who they've been. Whereas I see in shows as this now, we have a lot of ex-military or that type of people getting into these shows so that they have the strength and the experience and the training to be able to do some of these stunts and some of the action work. And you don't see the two of them the same because of the work that they do. So when women play that gentle and caring role, or when women play that hard and sporty role, you see them as a star for how well they play that role they portray themselves in. And Lindsay
Yeah.
Lohan will absolutely have a chance to come back as a I'm trying to think of who else did that and came back like 10 years later. I can't think of her name. There's been a couple of women who like bowed out. They had a few problems, and then they kind of solved their problems, had a kid or two, and settled down, got married, and came back and started doing a few more cameo appearances, and then built back up again. But yeah, she has every chance. I was going to, and we have a couple minutes left on the show, so we'll kind of just go over. I was going to toss in Trump. Should Trump still be a Hollywood star?
Well, no, he's never actually been in any movies.
Yes, he has.
He's been on telly in WWE, but
He's done cameo appearances in movies. He's had television shows. He's had.
oh,
Yeah, he's been in several movies. He was in Look Who's Talking 2, or the first one? No, 2 or 3. I forget which one he was in.
All right.
He was in a few other appearances. He did cameo appearances in the 80s and 90s before he did his own shows, The Apprentice and things. But you could almost, in the same aspect you call Schwarzenegger a star, call Donald Trump a star, because he's done different things and he's shown his ability to be able to work and be diligent in different types of fields.
Well, you can certainly work. I mean, he's brought himself back from a bankruptcy 6 times.
Yeah. Well, here we are, coming to the end of our hour. And I'm very happy to have had people join me. I apparently forgot to give Dax a wrench, though. Here we go. Let me add you in there. Dax, would you like to tell the audience about yourself, since you joined a little late today?
I'm a pretty simple dude. I tend to hang out in the background of a lot of bigger people than I like to spend a lot of time with R.I.P, for instance, and Bloodwing a lot. If you know either of those, and I'm sure you do.
I know R.I.P.
And
once. I should send Bloodwing one, see if I'll get him in on Friday, but I think he's a little west of me, so he's got kids during the Christmas vacation. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and see what he's doing.
Well, as far as I know, his son-in-law or whatever is there and watching the kids. So I think till they go back to school, which I think is next week, he probably is open for it, and he's usually up around now.
All right, I'm gonna have to send him a couple of tweets and see if he's busy around 9 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. I do run this show Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern every week. And right after my show, if Beware is still here and wants to throw his stream in if he's almost set, Beware does an hour-long just shoot the shit stream, we'll call it. He sometimes comes up with topics, sometimes just chats away. I trying to fall into a category so people find me and then find the next person and find the next person and build their day off of something entertaining, I guess. So
I like that. I like this this great debate thing.
Yeah, I find it more comfortable. I started it out as a game, more of a game with points and timers and stuff like that, but after the first show or two, I realized that the conversation is really better to have as a conversation and not a competition. So I wanted to open it up. You get 10 minutes to discuss that topic so that, even if you get off tangent a little bit, it still kind of brings you back. There's enough on the board. The board never gets used up in an hour-long show, which is always awesome. And I consistently change everything we use, so even if you pick the same topic every show, you're not going to have the same thing to talk about every show. So,
well, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping people find this fun. I'm looking for some more guests to have on. I would like to have 2 on per show, and I'm always looking for new guests because new perspectives are always wanted. So I want to thank you, YinWolf and Dax Orien, for joining me today. Again, we'll be back at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for the Great Debate. Cue the outro music.
Bless you.
Guys,